Hello, my dear friends. Today's story is not just about Dee's journey. It's about love, hope, and the unbreakable strength that keeps us moving forward even when life feels impossible. This will be a turning point in Dee and Huyen's love story, a chapter filled with distance, struggle, and the deep longing of two hearts trying to find their way back to each other. Even though Dee's body had grown weak, his heart was still strong, fueled by faith in the future and the thought of his loved ones waiting for him. He began his journey from the south, determined to return home as soon as possible. At first, things went well. His steps were firm, his spirit steady. But the long, winding roads and endless obstacles slowly started to wear him down. Every morning, Dee continued walking, though the sky offered him no mercy. Heavy rains poured down without warning, turning the dirt paths into slippery traps. The cold water drenched his clothes, soaking him to the bone. Each raindrop felt like a small cut against his skin, as if the world itself was testing his will to keep going. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. The thought of Huyen and little Maya gave him the strength to take one more step, and then another. As the days passed, Dee's body began to fail him. His energy drained away. His legs felt as if they were nailed to the ground, and even lifting a foot became a struggle. A burning fever crept through him. His hands trembled, his vision blurred, yet he pressed on. Somewhere deep inside, he kept seeing the faces of his family, Huyen's gentle smile, Maya's laughter echoing in his ears. One long, stormy night, his body could take no more. The rain came down like knives, and Dee stumbled across an old, abandoned house by the roadside. The roof was covered in moss, and the windows were shattered, but to him, it felt like a miracle, a small corner of safety in a merciless world. He pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The house was silent, empty, and full of dust. The wind howled through the cracks in the wall, carrying a chill that cut through his bones. In one corner, he found an old, rotting mattress. It wasn't much, but it was enough. He lay down, his body trembling from exhaustion. The fever hit him harder now. Sweat ran down his face as he drifted in and out of consciousness. Still, even as his body gave way, his mind clung to one thing: hope. Images of warm mornings came back to him. The smell of tea, Maya's tiny footsteps, and Huyen humming softly as she prepared breakfast. Those memories were like sunlight breaking through the storm, keeping his spirit alive. Outside, the rain continued its relentless rhythm, but inside, there was only the sound of Dee's shallow breathing. He whispered to himself through trembling lips, "Will I make it back? Will I see them again?" Then with a faint smile, he added, "I must. They're waiting for me." In that quiet moment, his thoughts turned into a silent promise. No matter how much pain I go through, no matter how tired I get, I have to go back. I have to hold them again and tell them I love them. Only then will all of this mean something. The next few days blurred together. Dee tried to take care of himself with what little he had. He searched the house for food, managing to find a few scraps. Nothing enough to fill him, but enough to keep him from collapsing. Hunger gnawed at him, but his willpower burned stronger than ever. He thought of home often, how it must look now. The garden in front of the porch, the way Huyen used to call his name when he came back from work. Those small memories became his source of strength. One morning, he decided to go out and find water. His steps were unsteady, his body shaking, but he forced himself onward. After only a few meters, the dizziness returned. The world spun, and he collapsed onto the cold, wet ground. The rain began again, merging with his tears. Yet, in that moment of weakness, something strange happened. He felt warmth, like invisible hands lifting him up. It was as if Huyen and Maya, though far away, were somehow there with him, pushing him to rise again. That love, their love, became his lifeline. By nightfall, darkness had swallowed everything. The abandoned house glowed faintly from the fire he had managed to build earlier. The flames flickered, casting soft, trembling light on his thin, tired face. His cheeks were hollow, his eyes red from sleepless nights, but deep within them, there was still a glimmer of determination. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small piece of cold rice, hard and dry from the day before. That was all he had left. No salt, no warmth, just that piece of rice and a bit of spring water he'd gathered earlier. It wasn't much, but it was enough to remind him that he was still alive. He chewed slowly, forcing each bite down, even though his throat burned from the effort. Hunger had become his constant companion. Every swallow was painful, but he refused to give in. Ye's face revealed everything: the fatigue, the pain, the endless struggle, but also the fire that refused to die. His arms were thin, his body frail, yet inside, his heart was as fierce as ever. He glanced at the small fire again, watching how it danced, bright and alive despite its weakness. It reminded him of himself, fragile, yet still burning. He sighed, turning his gaze toward the window where the night stretched endlessly outside. "I have to go back," he whispered, his voice barely audible. His lips moved again, forming the words he'd been repeating to himself for days, like a mantra keeping him alive. "I have to go back to Huyen, to Maya, for our family." His fingers clenched into fists, as if to trap that belief inside, afraid it might slip away. He remembered Juyan's eyes, filled with tenderness, and Maya's innocent laughter. Those memories were light in the darkness, the one thing that made his world still worth fighting for. A gust of wind slipped through the cracks of the window, making the fire flicker wildly. For a brief second, the flames brightened, reflecting in his tired eyes, then dimmed again. The room fell quiet, except for the faint crackle of wood and the steady rhythm of his breathing. Ye pulled his tattered coat tighter around his shoulders. He was cold, but inside, a small, unwavering warmth remained. That warmth was faith. It was love. He knew that rest would be dangerous now. If he closed his eyes too long, he might never wake up again. But he also knew he had no other choice. His body needed to heal. The battle between sleep and survival waged inside him as he stared at his old motorcycle resting nearby, covered in dust. That machine had carried him through so many parts of his life, through sunshine and storm, laughter and tears. Now it stood silent, waiting for the next dawn, just like him. He whispered to himself, "Tomorrow, when the sun rises, I'll keep going. I'll go home." He finished the last bit of rice, leaned back against the wall, and looked out the window one more time. The night was endless, but within that darkness, a flame of faith still burned. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing for sure: he wouldn't give up. "A new day will come," he murmured softly, eyes half closed. "And no matter what it takes, I'll return. He drifted into a light, fragile dream. A dream of reunion, of home, of Huyen and Maya's arms waiting to hold him once more. In that abandoned house, surrounded by silence and shadows, Ye had nothing left but love, hope, and an unbreakable will to keep moving forward. The first light of dawn crept in through the broken windows, painting the room in soft shades of gray. Dee opened his eyes slowly, his head heavy, but his heart stirred with a faint spark of determination. The storm outside had passed, leaving behind the smell of damp earth and a sky still veiled in mist. He sat up, coughing weakly, his body aching from the cold floor. Another day had begun, another chance to keep his promise. He wrapped his worn scarf around his neck, grabbed his old jacket, and looked once more at his motorcycle. The seat was cracked, the paint chipped, but it was more than just a vehicle to him. It was a symbol of everything he was fighting for. He gently touched the handlebars, whispering, "Let's go home." He pushed the bike outside, its tires sinking slightly into the wet mud. The road ahead looked endless, disappearing into the fog. Dee climbed on and started pedaling slowly, the engine sputtering weakly before catching. The sound echoed through the quiet morning, a lonely melody of survival and hope. The journey was far from easy. The roads were uneven, full of puddles and stones that made the motorcycle shake violently. Every bump sent pain shooting through Dee's body, but he gritted his teeth and kept moving. The wind was sharp, slapping against his face, but he welcomed it. It reminded him he was still alive. At times, he had to stop and rest, leaning against the handlebars while his chest heaved. Each pause felt like a small defeat, but he refused to stay still for long. In his mind, he kept hearing Huyen's voice calling out to him, gentle but full of longing. That imaginary sound pushed him forward, step by step, mile by mile. As noon approached, the clouds thickened again. The light dimmed, and soon the rain returned. It wasn't as heavy as before, but it was enough to make the path slippery. Dee's hands shook as he tightened his grip on the handlebars, his vision blurring from the water running down his face. Then, his body gave out once more. The fever hadn't left him. It had simply hidden for a while. He stopped by the side of the road, leaning his bike against a tree. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. His body was burning up, yet he shivered uncontrollably. He could have stayed there, surrendered to the exhaustion, but his mind refused. He thought of the promise he made, the one he repeated every night before falling asleep. "I'll return. No matter how hard it gets, I'll return." Those words became a lifeline, pulling him back from the edge. Through the rain, Dee spotted a small roadside stall, just a shack with a tin roof and wooden benches. He dragged himself toward it, hoping to find shelter, or maybe someone who could help. But when he arrived, the place was empty. Only a few broken chairs and a rusty kettle remained. Still, the roof offered protection from the rain, and that was enough. He sat there, listening to the drops hitting the tin above him, a rhythmic sound that felt strangely calming. For a brief moment, he closed his eyes and allowed himself to rest. His thoughts drifted to Huyen and Maya once again. He imagined Huyen sitting by the window, staring into the distance, wondering where he was. He pictured Maya asking, "When will Daddy come home?" The thought made his heart ache, but it also gave him strength. He whispered softly, "Soon, soon I'll be there." After a while, when the rain slowed, he decided to move again. His legs were heavy, but his resolve was stronger than his pain. He got back on the motorcycle, guiding it through the muddy track, one slow meter at a time. Hours passed. The landscape changed. Fields stretched wide on both sides, and the air began to smell faintly of salt. He must have been getting closer to the coast, closer to home. The thought filled him with cautious joy. As the sun began to set, Dee reached a narrow bridge. The wooden planks creaked beneath the weight of his bike. Below, the river flowed calmly, reflecting the orange glow of the evening sky. He stopped for a moment, staring at the horizon. The scene was breathtaking, quiet, peaceful, almost unreal. He took a deep breath, feeling a strange sense of peace wash over him. Almost there, he murmured. Just a little more. But his body had reached its limit. As he crossed the bridge, a wave of dizziness hit him. His vision darkened, and before he could react, he lost control of the motorcycle. The bike skidded, and he fell hard onto the ground. Pain exploded through his arm and leg. For a few seconds, everything went black. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on the side of the road. The motorcycle toppled nearby. The sun had disappeared completely, leaving behind the deep blue of twilight. His body screamed in pain, but he couldn't stop now. He tried to stand, wincing, using the bike for support. The front wheel was slightly bent, but it still turned. He pushed it along, step by step, through the growing darkness. By the time night fell again, Dee found himself near a small village. Faint lights flickered in the distance. Houses, maybe shops. Relief flooded him. He wasn't alone anymore. He dragged himself toward the lights, each step heavier than the last. At the edge of the village, he saw an elderly woman standing outside a small wooden house. She looked surprised to see him. Muddy, pale, trembling. Without hesitation, she rushed to help, calling someone inside. They brought him in, laid him near the fire, and gave him warm tea. The heat felt like heaven, thawing the cold that had frozen him for days. The woman asked gently, "Where are you headed, son?" Dee's lips trembled as he replied, "Home, to my family." His voice cracked, but there was relief in it too. For the first time in what felt like forever, he wasn't fighting alone. The villagers tended to him through the night. They gave him food, bandaged his wounds, and made sure he rested. In his half-conscious state, Dee could hear their soft voices, the crackle of the fire, and somewhere outside, the sound of rain fading away. He dreamed again of home, of Huyen running toward him, Maya laughing as she jumped into his arms. It felt so real that when he woke up, he almost believed he was there. The next morning, he woke to sunlight streaming through the window. His fever had gone down, and though he was still weak, he felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from his heart. The villagers offered him breakfast, and one of them helped repair his motorcycle. Before leaving, the old woman pressed his hands and said, "You've come this far. Don't give up now. Your loved ones are waiting." He bowed his head gratefully, his eyes glistening. "Thank you for giving me the strength to go on." He started his motorcycle again. The engine roared softly, steady and strong this time. As he looked down the road stretching ahead, Dee felt a deep sense of calm. The journey wasn't over yet, but he was ready. The road might still be long, the storms might return, but love would guide him home. He whispered one last time, "Huyen Maya," Wait for me. I'm coming back. And with that, D rode toward the horizon, the rising sun behind him, and hope lighting every mile ahead. In the end, it wasn't strength alone that carried him through. It was love, faith, and the promise of returning home. That was the true journey of D. After losing his most valuable possession, D sets out on a long and exhausting journey to start over. Alongside Huyen and little Maya, he faces endless hardships, from sleepless nights and hunger to the emotional scars of betrayal and loss. Yet through every storm, their love and determination keep them moving forward. Just when life seems to offer a glimpse of peace, an unexpected visitor appears, carrying a secret that could change everything. Will D's fragile happiness survive what's coming next? Or will the past return to tear apart the fragile world they've built? Stay tuned to discover the truth hidden behind this journey of pain, hope, and redemption.